In this module, we'll talk about another descriptive statistics that's called measures of dispersion. Since we know that whenever we use statistical methods, we either do descriptive statistical methods or inferential statistical methods. Descriptive statistical method can be graphical, numerical. In numerical, we often do frequency distributions or the summary measures. And within the summary measures, we try to calculate measures of central tendency, which are mean, median, and mode. And the other measures are the measures of dispersion, which are going to be the focus of this module. Dispersion is defined as the extent to which the observation in the data set are spread away from the central value. These measures are the methods that convey the information regarding the amount of spread, that is variability, present in the set of data. In all the values in the data set, if all the values are same, then there will be zero variability, and we can call it there's no dispersion. Other terms used synonymously with dispersion includes variation, spread, and scatter. We look at this data where we have these fasting plasma glucose levels of 7 individuals in two groups. The first group has the observations 110, 110, and so on, where the minimum observation is 90 and the maximum observation is 110. And in the group 2, the observations are minimum observation is 80 and the maximum observation is 120. If we calculate the mean of both the data sets, it turned out to be 100 and 100 for both datas. But if we look at the spread, they do have different spread. If the value on this number line ranges from, I would say, 90, 100, 110. And on another line, the data shows as we can clearly see if we plot all these observations here, there's one observation that's 100, other observation 110, 90, 105, 95, 101, and 99. And for the other data that's in the group 2, the first observation is 120, next is 105, 80, 100, 95, 103, and 97. In this data, we can see that overall, in the group 2, there's a bigger spread. All these measures that help us to measure this dispersion, this spread, are called measures of dispersion. We can see it from a frequency curve, from the histogram, from these bar charts as well, where we can see that in this data, there is a bigger scatter of the values, whereas in this data, in the second data, there is a smaller scatter. So therefore, if there is a bigger scatter, the dispersion value, the spread will be more as compared to the second data. We can also see this from a frequency polygon, where both the polygons represent different other datas. And if you look at the mean, both of the data has the same mean. But for the population A, you will see that there's a higher peak as compared to the population B. Whereas in the population B, there is a more spread as compared to the population A. We can also see this from this scatter plot where we plot two data at a time. And we can notice from here that there are, for YPC, the data, the values in the blue have much more spread because these are the values which are spread all over. And you can see it from here that their curve is also much flatter and spread out. Whereas the purple points are pretty closer to each other. They're more intact. That's why their curve is much more, it's kind of leptokurtic. And same is the case with the PPO, that in the PPO, if you look at the purple points, they are all close by. That's why there's a visible peak. But for the green dots and these maroon dots, you will see that they are much more spread out as compared even more than the blue dots. From here, we can represent our data into the curves as well as within the scatter plot that how spread the data is. Measures of dispersion are of two types: absolute measures of dispersion and relative measures of dispersion. Those measures which are expressed in terms of their same units as the original data, are termed as absolute measures of dispersion. Whereas those measures which are expressed in the terms of ratios and percentages, these measures are independent of the units and termed as relative measures of dispersion. Each absolute measure of dispersion can be converted into its relative measure of dispersion, whereas relative measures of dispersion are used to make comparison between different data sets as they are unit-free.